Hey everyone. Welcome to episode 15. This is my first solo episode, and today I'm going to share some thoughts on the power of the sun through the lens of astrology. What inspired this is that there's so many terrible and unjust things going on in the world, and over the last 2 weeks or so, I've been thinking about the sun's role and raising awareness, shifting consciousness and behavior, and the sun's influence over the collective. I'm particularly interested in the relationship between the sun, visibility, influence, and power. And I'm mostly going to be talking about the power folks hold who are famous, well known, and are highly visible. But I do want to be clear that there are people obviously in this world who aren't famous, who aren't visible, who aren't well known, who hold so much, you know, wisdom, um, insight, a different perspective that's, equally powerful, that could equally be beneficial. So what I'm trying to say is that, I know that I'm focusing on a particular population of people who are famous, well known, highly visible, because I'm connecting this to the sun and astrology. But I think it's so important to know at least for me, at the core of my being, that you could learn something from your Uber or Lyft driver, something that shifts something inside of you, and they might not have a huge Instagram following. Oh my gosh, you definitely can be learning all sorts of things from children. They, they they might not be famous, they're just a kid, an ordinary kid with their toys and watching their cartoons, and they say something and you're like, "What?" Or there's so many examples that I could give of, like, you know, one of your friends who, you know, they maybe their artwork really moves you, and they're not like this super big artist, but their artwork conveys like so much emotion, or the stories that their art is telling, you know puts you in a place of awe. Or maybe there's this person on Instagram you follow who has, I don't know, 100 followers, and they share really inspiring quotes, and you check in periodically to see what they share. And they are exuding power with their 100 followers. Here's this person that not many people on the planet know about, but here they are exuding their power through what they're sharing. And they're impacting you, but it's more than than like them impacting you. They've created their own platform to express themselves. And in some ways the residual is that you have been impacted or moved or inspired in some way. So I just want to say that because I feel like what I'm going to share, it might sound like, power is only in the hands of the famous and the well-known and highly visible, and it's just not true. Um, but I am particularly interested in this group of people because I do think there's a particular power that these folks hold, and I've been thinking about that because, like I said, so much is going on in the world, and I'm seeing celebrities speak up about this and speak up about that. You know, maybe there's politicians who might not be, they're not Cardi B, they're not Megan Thee Stallion, but they're on the news, getting arrested for speaking up and asking questions. Um feel like I just um lost my thought here. Hold on a minute. Hold on. Um so and you know who keeps coming to mind is, oh yeah, because I've been, I'm seeing all kinds of people speak up about, I could go down the list of all the terrible unjust things that are going on. It's never ending. It's never ending. It Name a year throughout space time. There, I'm sure something was happening. A couple of things that was terrible and unjust. Um, and so I'm seeing all these celebrities and influencers speaking up. People in my personal Instagram community. Um, you know, even, news anchors, like so many people from different walks of life speaking up. And then the person coming to mind right now is actually Doechii, the rapper Doechii. I think it was at the BET Awards. She accepted an award. She got up on stage. She was speaking about what's going on in LA, the ICE raids. She she mentioned the genocide in Gaza. I can't remember completely what she said. Maybe I can Google it right now. I'm gonna do that. Um, Doechii speaks up at at awards. Let's see what comes up here. Look, the AI overview. See, you can't get away from the AI because it just automatically comes up when you Google something. The AI overview says at the 2025 BET Awards, Doechii used her platform to speak out against the Trump administration, specifically addressing the deployment of the military during protests and the recent ICE raids in Los Angeles. Um, Doechii's speech was praised for its powerful message and for shining a light on all oppressed people. And you know what made me mad? I don't know why they cut to Keke Palmer. I I don't know. I don't know. Like, why y'all cutting to Keke Palmer? I don't know. Anybody else saw that? Like, I don't I don't understand what the point of that was to cut to Keke Palmer. Um but because what I'm trying to say is like, why are y'all cutting to Keke Palmer? What's going on here? I know y'all trying to get reactions of the audience, but don't do that. Don't do that to people. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, maybe it's my own projection of like, why they trying to make Keke Palmer look like, you know? Anyway, but yeah, Keke Palmer is on a roll, actually. Homegirl is on a roll. And I'm about to talk about the sun. If I'm correct, I think Keke Palmer has Chiron and Leo. And I don't have to go down that rabbit hole about what Chiron is, but that part of me is like, you're you know, your Leo light could be wounded in some way. You still keep going. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I think about Chiron and Leo a lot, actually. And about yeah, okay. There's so much to say. I have this is not Chiron and Leo is not a part of what I'm gonna say, so I'm not gonna go down that rabbit hole. But that's who keeps coming in my mind is Doechii, and like her using her platform to speak up, you know? Now see, I've meandered now, and now I don't know where I last was, but I'm just saying, like, I want to talk about this type of power here. Um, and again, to be clear that we all have power. We all can be empowered, you know. It's really important to understand that. And if you look at a lot of the medicine folk and the way showers, however people want to describe themselves, many of these people talk about not giving your power away. Okay. Um, not giving your power away. I'm really into personally empowering myself and being empowered, and that's where a lot of times the alchemy in my life comes in. Um, I'm a Scorpio, so shout out to the Scorpios. Shout out to the Scorpios. I feel like I'm always going to be empowered because I be dying all the time and coming back to life. I literally die and regenerate. It's kind of scary. I'm like, whoa. Oh my God. And I'll be like, dang, that death was hard, bruh. That was hard. And I don't know, it's interesting being a Scorpio sun and a Gemini moon because this last death, this last death was really hard. And there was this part of me that was like, stop crying. Stop crying. And now, oh my gosh, because it's like you got to address everything. Crying is absolutely okay. Please, please cry. Ah, crying assists the regeneration and the rebirth. But I just thought it was so funny that there was this part of me that was like, can you like sitting around reading a newspaper talking about, can you stop crying? But no, please cry. Oh my gosh. I work with the rose plant and working with rose. Yeah, rose makes me cry. And sometimes you do need a good cry, you know. I sometimes I feel like crying is essential. Okay, let's come back to what I want to share. And please bear with me as I find my words. You know, I part of me and my process is me wanting to express everything that I want to express, but I have to remember what I want to share, and um but I release, and let's continue. So being famous, well known, and or highly visible has been around for ages. If we look at celebrities, influencers, and well-known people in our communities, these people may be Leo risings, have fame degrees. There's something in astrology called degree theory. Um, and it's a lot to get into, but you could always research fame degree or degree theory. And so basically the degrees on the zodiac wheel, like each zodiac sign goes from 0 to 29, and each one of these numbers gives an incredible amount of information to tell you, about yourself, about your life, how your natal chart expresses itself. Our natal charts, just like ourselves, is prismatic. So, these folks, maybe Leo risings, have fame degrees 5, 17, or 29, which are Leo degrees, and Leo is ruled by the sun. Or these folks may have some astrological pattern or configuration that we consistently see in the charts of people who are famous influencers and well known. Now I look at celebrity charts to do astrological research because this is one way to access charts for free to understand, um, to be able to observe placements and patterns and put charts side by side to make connections and look at differences. Um, so I know that I've come across some charts where I don't see typical fame indicators, and that's always interesting. I'll be like, "Wow, this person is famous and they're really successful, and they seem to always, you know, be in a movie or something." And so that's always interesting to be like, "Wow, what makes this person, um, famous, or what makes this person successful?" If you research fame and influence indicators within astrology, uh, like those words, like if you Google fame indicators within astrology, influence indicators within astrology, you will learn what placements indicate possibility for fame, influence, and visibility. Um, and there are some numbers that aren't Leo degrees that can point to um, lots of opportunity and wealth, and that those people sometimes, oftentimes, are are well known and famous. So the connection I'm making here is the role of the sun. Um, Now, it's not only the sun that leads to all of this, but I feel like we keep seeing. So what I want to say is I don't want to chalk all of this down to the sun, but I do think it's important to recognize the sun's consistent role in visibility, influence, and fame. Oh my God, I've said those words so many times. Um, and before I dive more into this, while I was thinking about what I wanted to share, there was this part of me that wanted myself to remember that even though the sun is glorified because it is indeed glorious and it's so central to life on the planet, that, you know, um, um, it's not central to all of creation. Because around 2 years ago, I learned about the sunless world the deep sea creatures experience and thrive in. And learning this, because I was a part of a group project where we were learning about the deep sea, this made me really laugh to think about, wow, these creatures don't depend on the sun as much as we do, high above the surface of the water. And I think it this illustrates how diverse life is, and that's something that has so much significance and power in the human plant animal experience, above the surface of the ocean. It doesn't have the same significance and power in another creature's experience or world. Um, excuse me. And I don't know, there's this part of me, like this whole thing, it's like just when you think you've got it all figured out, mystery with a capital M shows you more of itself, like just when you think that the sun is like the almighty sun, and then you learn about the deep sea creatures who are like dwelling in complete darkness. It's very interesting. And I thought to include that because I think it's cool to know about, and if people want to go research it. I mean, deep sea, no sun. Oh my God, the AI overview again. The deep sea, specifically the aphotic zone, is characterized by the absence of sunlight. Now, I don't know if any creatures live in the aphotic zone, but it goes on to say this vast, dark environment is home to unique ecosystems that rely on alternative energy sources and adaptations to survive the extreme conditions. But I do think even though there's no sunlight there are I think there are creatures who are bioluminescent. So there is a form of light. It's just not sunlight. Oh my gosh, so much to learn about with the deep sea. Um, if anyone has more information, is more knowledgeable, please, I don't know, comment. Comment on this episode or the Instagram post. Um, I just wanted to share that really quickly. It feels really surfacey, like I would love to dive deeper into the sunless world of the deep sea. Um, and I'm hoping that there will be future episodes about the deep sea. But the sun and water have this very interesting relationship in general. Many times I love seeing the sun on the surface of the water, like, you see the light, you see the light just kind of like glimmering on the water. Um, yeah, the water, the sun, the sky, how a water body reflects the sky. Um, the sun's role, the sun does give life to to the creatures in the ocean, I guess to a certain extent. So there is this interesting um, relationship between, you know, it goes back to like the stars, the relationship between the above world and the below world, and there's all these worlds that are above and all these worlds that are below. Um, okay. This is why I write a script because I start going off in all sorts of directions. So in this day and age, one way we are able to locate and observe power or sites of power is through social media platforms like Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, etc., which were designed for many different reasons, but they were designed for there to be an influencer and followers. To have hundreds to thousands to millions of people following, engaging with, and sharing what a person posts is powerful. People are not only paying attention to you, people are listening to you. People are processing and behaving in certain ways because of what you are sharing. The more followers you have, the more perceived power. Now, I've seen out there that, it's not always about how many follows, likes, and shares a person has. It's not always about the numbers. And I think that, that's absolutely correct. That, life is more than just your Instagram followers. Even though a lot of people's businesses are built on top of their social media platforms. I understand that it's not all about that, but numbers do give information. I said last time when I first recorded this, when these social media platforms first started out, we didn't have all the metric tools that we have now. Over time, they've created these metric tools to track, you know, the numbers, to track how many people a person is reaching, how many people are engaging with a person's post. And I don't think that, you know, they did that just for the hell of it. It's because platforms like Instagram are already so deeply researched and designed for specific reasons that these metric tools were created because I feel that the designers know the power of numbers. If it does make a difference if you make a post and wow, this reached 500 people versus not knowing that it didn't reach 500 people because the information that tells you is that there are literally real people. So I should go back and say 500 people that like the post. There are real people who are paying attention to you and engaging with what you're saying. Now, maybe there's a couple of bots in there, but for the most part, what the numbers and the metrics are saying and showing is that there are real people who are engaging with with this person who has created a social media platform. And, I think so much money has probably gone into the metric tools because it's all about, you know, uh, keeping people on these platforms, making, I'm sure it's about making money for Meta and whoever else owns whatever. Um, but it's like, no, these numbers aren't here just to be here. The like button isn't here just, let's create a like button and, no, this like button is power. That share button is power, and that comment section, woo! That comment section can you wake up one morning, somebody commented, now your whole day has changed. Somebody commented, led to an opportunity or a collaboration. Somebody commented, somebody shared, it went viral. Everything about social media, the whole interface is is intentionally designed um to build power, to build and wield power. There's nothing on these social media interfaces that's just there because. So I understand people saying like it's not just about the numbers, but I think, more than one truth can exist that but it does it does actually mean something when someone has like 20,000 followers and they get 1,000 likes and 300 comments. Yeah, it does matter. And then when you really pay attention to people's accounts and you're like, okay, well, this person, people are not only listening, paying attention and listening to this person and commenting and all the things, but they keep doing it. They're still here. They're still here a year later. Now they done subscribe to a newsletter. They done bought a workshop, a digital product online. So I think that I think that what I'm trying to say is like in some ways honor the numbers or recognize recognize the power of the numbers. Honor the numbers. I the whole reason why I'm sharing this is because I'm thinking about power. And I know that there are a lot of people whether they're on social media, online or not, they know about their power. But sometimes I feel like people need a reminder that you, dear, are holding a lot of power. Mhm. And it's like, because I don't wanna say people don't know that they aren't powerful. I think that there are a lot of folks out here of influence who know that they are powerful people, and that they hold power. And sometimes it's like you get kind of comfortable in that knowing, but it's like I feel like, what do I know? But I do feel like it's a great reminder to be like, girl or person, I just want to remind you that so many people are paying attention to you, even the lurkers. I didn't even mention the lurkers. All these people liking your posts. What about the people who looking at you quietly from the distance? Um, or following you from a distance quietly. Um, just wanted to remind you that your power is your power is doing all sorts of things, okay? And you know what it's doing. I don't have to say it, you know what it's doing, right? Um, and what does this power get you? Particularly when you're on social media. At this point, I don't know if I say online because social media is really this site of power that I think is shaping the world in many ways. This power gets you obviously attention in itself, attention, um, admiration, respect, support. That in itself is wonderful. You also can get opportunities, collaborations, money, etc. when you gain visibility, a following, influence. It's also important to keep in mind the other side of the coin, that everything that shines isn't gold. Okay, it's not everybody out here is it's not all rainbows and cupcakes and unicorns. I wish it could be. I really do, but hashtag real life. And I understand that a lot of folks don't like celebrity culture, and people talk about the death of celebrity culture and all sorts of things. And how it's not all up to celebrities to speak up and catalyze change. And there's a part of me that you know pe- people of influence also have a stake in all of this. you know I just think that classism does it I mean, there's all kinds of othering that happens among us as human beings. And I think that um it does matter when these folks speak up, use their platforms. You know, even though it is sort of like a Black Mirror episode where when all this stuff is going on in the world and all the award shows are happening, it is like a Black Mirror Twilight Zone kind of thing where like anyway, um it's like these people are still in this world with everyone who's not a celebrity also, you know? They might, be at the award show and they might be, in a certain echelon that may, it may look like or feel like they're just, outside of everything that's going on. It's like, no, they're actually many of them live in California. I'm sure many of them live in LA. It's like, no. I think I don't think it's real. I think a lot of I think just I mean, film already is connected to Neptune. Um and which is, Neptune is sort of it's Neptune, the many faces of Neptune. Camilla and I talked about that in the last episode. But one of the faces of Neptune is like illusion. And I think, there is an of it feels very real, like the illusion that they're like those people over there. It goes in all sorts of directions. Those people over there, those people over there. It's an illusion. That's why you hear from a lot of Pisces people that Piscean signal, you know, listening to the cosmic radio, you tune into that Piscean signal. A lot of the Pisces talk about, being one. They talk about unity consciousness. Pisces is ruled by Neptune and Jupiter. And so, I believe every zodiac sign has something to share with all of us, so much to share with all of us. And so it's interesting, Pisces being ruled by Neptune, it's like Pisces, that whole energetic field addresses itself. Like, I know it feels real that it's those people over there and those people over there. And we're just like, I know that it feels that way, but that's not real. It's actually, we're all connected. That's what I feel like. Not all Pisces, but the Pisces signal. That's why I feel a lot of times I hear from Pisces is like, you know, in all the noise, I just want to let you know that this being separated, all the ways that we're separated, it's not real. It's like all this noise going on. You hear Pisces, it's not real. It's not real. And but it feels so real. And of course it's made real in the ways that we are separated and we other each other, and the very real ways that people are treated to be separated and treated differently, treated badly. um there's a lot of healing, and there's a lot of, a lot of I personally pay attention to the Pisces signal because I love Pisces. I'm drawn to that. I'm drawn to Pisces for some reason. I know the reason. But when you pay attention to people who have Pisces placements, energy, they're sharing a lot of things that have tremendous healing, but it's also hard. It's hard. It's hard. With Pisces, we're talking about grief. We're talking about our emotions, relationships, how we're relating to people, energy, the energetics of things. We're talking about love. We're talking about unity consciousness, like all sorts of things. Literally, every zodiac sign is just like a beautiful whirlwind of wisdom and insight, all the things. Um, but I just thought to share that because it's like, actually, no, these people who, they're 500,000 followers above us, or it's like, that one celebrity, I'm never going to cross paths with that person, or, the well-known person, like, it's like we're these people are also living in the world. They might be living in the world differently from another person, but at the end of the day, we're all literally in the same place, turning on. We're all in the same place where the same news channels are, it might be, from different political parties, but we're in the same place. Does that make sense? So they have a stake too. What they say matters also. Don't count out the power of don't count out the power of these folks just because they're a celebrity or because they're an influencer. What I'm trying to say is that um I think sometimes in people's attempt to like kind of diminish a person's power, a person of influence's power, to like show, I don't know how I'm gonna articulate this. Like I think sometimes um instead of uplifting a person's power and being like, wow, like acknowledging like, wow, this person is really influencing a lot of people. It's like sometimes I feel like those folks, there's like this attempt to like diminish the power of people who clearly are in power instead of, recognizing how these people can shape their immediate communities, the larger world. I don't know if that made any sense. My if I had to wrap it up in one sentence, this everything that I'm sharing, it's like actually no, it did matter that Dochi said that. No, it did matter that Dochi got up on there and said that on live TV or something. Yeah, it mattered. I appreciated that she did that. And I went on her Instagram and I said, "Thank you. I appreciate you for speaking up." Okay, let's get to the meat of what I'm trying to say here. Watch I go back and listen to this and there's going to be some issues with the audio. Okay. So in my personal opinion, many people of influence have the sun behind them. Again, meaning maybe they're a Leo sun, a Leo rising, they have Leo placements. Um, they have fame degrees in their chart, 5, 17, 29, all Leo degrees ruled by the sun, or they have some configuration or pattern that we consistently see with like highly visible people. And so these folks are able to reach other folks in a way that maybe someone um, without the sun or a combination of solar energy behind them wouldn't be able to do. And, it all makes sense. Plants, animals, humans respond. We respond to the warmth of the sun. The sun nourishes and feeds us. It's like, oh, well, no wonder people are gravitating toward people with all this solar energy. I think it is true that with great power comes great responsibility. People may not like the word responsibility, they may actually just like hate it. But I do think there's some truth to this, to that saying. And the power of the sun during these times is great. So, I can understand why many people on social media, they ask folks with big platforms to speak up about XYZ. I can understand this not being a person of influence's responsibility. There goes that word again. I can understand both of these feelings. What I'm interested in is the power um the power of people with significant significant platforms, you know? The sun is a force and a collaborator. And then so I'm thinking, and then I'm like, well, there are lots of people out there who could have the sun behind them, and they're doing harmful things. They're pushing indoctrination, brainwashing, harmful and violent world making. And then I'm like, okay, so it's not that, the sun is like this great, I don't know, like we are working with the sun to save the world, because I do think that's something to be mindful of, that I do think that solar energy, I do think the sun is playing a role in collective consciousness raising and liberation, but I don't, and yeah, like, I think it's important for it to not go into saviorism, but I do think there's something about the sun, and like, um, there's something about the sun and well, maybe guiding the direction of of the collective, if I want to say it that way. And then I was thinking, all of the power perhaps shouldn't, isn't, couldn't be attributed to the sun, because, you know, you are the power behind the sun as well. That if we think of the sun as a force to collaborate with, um, the sun behind you, in front of you, on the side, and that you have agency in what you want to make visible as the sun. You are the sun expressing itself. So it's like, I'm choosing, I'm choosing to talk about XYZ on my platform. I give light to this. I make this visible. I illuminate this on my platform. You are the sun. We are all the sun. So, you know, it goes back to, locating power. And here I am, I'm talking about the power of the sun, of course. At the same time, talking about the power of the sun is talking about your own power, my own power. Um, yeah, and I just wanted to share these thoughts that, it might sound woo, when people talk about light, that it might sound woo-woo to people, but I believe there is something to light, you know, light and colors and rainbows and all of that. There is something to, you know, the role of light and all of what's going on here. Um, well, that's what I wanted to share. And just end by saying, I'd ask anyone out there, whether, you're a person who's new to or curious about astrology, or it's not really your thing, but you're, want to hear your thoughts too, to astro nerds, astrologers, like, what are your thoughts on the role of the sun during these times? Obviously, I forgot to say that, I think I did say, the sun's more than just about, visibility, I this whole episode has been about the sun shining outward, but of course the sun shines inward. There's the inner world. I spent time on the external, but yeah, the sun is multidimensional. I talked about one dimension of this planet. Um, and as so many say, it really does start from the inside, you know, when you turn into the universe within and see what's going on there. Thank you all for sticking with me till the end. Stay tuned for the next episode coming your way.